we just went into one reel, just making calls and getting guys to understand how to really get ready to play a game. It's not just physical on the field, but it's also mental, quite a bit of mental between now and the game. Can eliminate a lot of errors in the game, help a guy go in the game with more confidence, better understanding of what he's supposed to do, and go play fast and be able to sustain that and play with a lot of discipline for, the entire game. So, this week we've gradually improved. I think one of the big things that you get concerned about is getting the team back, getting their players back, getting their legs back, and that's part of the reason for going inside, try to get out of the heat a little bit so the guys have a better chance to recover, but that's also something that's important from their standpoint, a part of preparation to take care of themselves and do the things they need to recover, whether it's, rest, eat correctly, do the cold tubs after practice or whatever it is. So, we got another day of preparation tomorrow. Sure we can use, every bit of it. There's a lot of situations that you try to cover for a first game, whether it's special teams, offense, defense, that we try to do in these last 2 days. So still a lot to learn for a lot of these players in these next couple practices.
Starting right with Ben.
Jonah Williams comes across as a guy who's very detail-oriented. Can you think of some ways that he might have improved that we might not recognize just layman's eyes?
Well, I think Jonah played really well for us last year. I think he's a very conscientious guy. He's one of those guys that's a perfectionist in terms of he wants to be the best player, and he's one of the guys that's willing to do the things that you have to do to be the best player. And that attention to detail that he has comes from pride in performance, and he's really a perfectionist. So I don't know if there's any specific thing, but I know he's a hard worker. He works hard every day, tries to get better at his technique, and he's a very bright guy, so he has a very good understanding of what we expect him to do.
Right in the middle with Michael. How much progress have you seen from this secondary from at the beginning of camp to now?
Well, I think a lot of progress has been made. I think, we got a lot of new faces. Guys have to learn how to play together, which they've made improvement in. Communication is something that we've improved dramatically. So, I don't think that we'll know exactly how they're able to perform until they go out there and make the adjustments that they need to make and see if we can make the plays that we need to make. But I've been, not satisfied with the progress, but certainly pleased with the improvement that we've been able to make.
Back on the right with Charlie.
I know back in the spring it was just for emergency purposes, but how much do you think that practicing at corner can benefit a guy like Devontae Smith and maybe take his game to the next level?
Well, he hadn't done it all fall camp. We did it for an emergency purposes, just so that he had enough knowledge and experience that if we got in trouble with that position, he could go over there and play it. We've done it in the past with, some other guys here, and I think understanding coverages, understanding how people play you probably can help you at his position at receiver as well. So he did a really good job of it, and I think that if we needed him in a pinch, we could get him ready to play, and he could actually be pretty effective doing it.
Back to Cecil.
Coach, we really hadn't asked since the second scrimmage. How has the communication been? You have two new coordinators from upstairs, sideline, and could you go over, I'm sure you've done it, but Mike will be upstairs and Dan downstairs on the field. Is that the plan offensively?
That's the way. Look, I allow the coordinators and give them an opportunity to do it the way they think is most effective for them. Mike's been a coordinator a lot. He's been in the press box. We've got other good coaches who have experience on the field, so I'm fine with that. Tosser's going to be on the field, and Pete will be in the press box. So, I think it's just as important to get good information during the game and have people that get good information. There's good and bad in both. I always wanted to be in the press box. I probably told you this story before when I was a coordinator. And then when I worked for Belichick in Cleveland, he said, you put all the stuff in, you're with the players, you talk to them all the time, you got to be on the sidelines and make, adjustments during the game. You're the only guy that can, communicate with every group. So was a lot harder in the beginning because you couldn't sit around and look at your sheet of paper and figure out what you wanted to call. You had to know what you wanted to call in every situation in the game. And I think that takes a little getting used to and a little experience. But in the 2 scrimmages that we have not had issues in communication at all.
Two more, Coach. Alex and Ryan.
Where has Saban kind of made the most progress, since he's been here, and what do you think about putting him out? I mean, obviously, as a cornerback, a lot of times they're out on an island. What do you think how do you think he'll respond?
Well, I'm happy with the progress that he's made here. He's a hard worker. He's physical. He's fast. I think, consistency in his technique. When he plays good technique, he really is an effective player. Sometimes if he gets lax in his technique, he struggles a little more. So I think that's probably true with every player, in the secondary. But he's done a nice job, and I'm encouraged with his improvement. His maturity helps us. We got such a young group of guys. The fact that he's, played a little more, been involved in college football before, I think that's all something that's really benefited him.